Hello you guys, so today I'm going to show you how to make buttery, flaky, delicious croissants. Now my method is very different than the traditional croissant method. I'm sure you guys know this by now, how we do things differently on this channel. This method is so much faster, much easier, and the croissants come out perfect. These will be the best croissants you will ever have, I promise you. Today we're making Italian-style croissants, which are a little bit sweeter than French croissants, much more flavorful, and they're amazing. If you've never had Italian cornetti, you're in for a treat. That being said, let's get started and let's make these.
So to make my croissants, we're going to start off with some warm milk. To that, we're going to mix in the yeast. I'm using fresh. You can use dry, of course, if you prefer. Just make sure your milk is warm, okay, and not hot. Otherwise, it will kill the yeast. So once that has dissolved, stir in the sugar and egg yolk. Basically, we just want to roughly mix the wet ingredients first, and then we'll add the flour. Now this will look soupy, it will be runny, that's perfect, that's what you're looking for. You're going to set this aside for about 5 minutes. In this other bowl, I have some butter. Now crucial, the butter needs to be very cold and needs to be cut in large chunks. I'd say about 1-inch cubes. If they are smaller than that, what's going to happen is the butter will just melt away and get lost in your dough. So cold, large butter chunks. And I also want to specify that the butter needs to remain cold throughout the entire recipe. In this other bowl, I have some more flour and salt. Give that a mix and add it to your butter, giving everything a rough toss with your hands. If you want, you can certainly do this in a stand mixer with a hook attachment. However, do not mix this for more than 10 seconds. I highly suggest you make this recipe by hand, guys, because you feel the butter and you'll know if it's getting too warm. Go ahead and pour in your flour yeast mixture and using a spatula, give everything a mix. Add your orange zest. Do not skip the orange zest. You won't actually taste it. It will just give your croissants excellent flavor. Now, we don't need to knead this. So as soon as everything starts to combine, you can transfer this onto your floured work area and bring everything together with your hands. You're probably thinking, oh, the butter pieces are so big. It will never work. Do not touch the butter. The less you work your dough, guys, the better. So you're going to cover everything in plastic wrap and you're going to refrigerate your dough for at least 1 hour. After 1 hour has gone by, we're going to make our folds that give those flaky layers that make up a croissant. So make sure you flour your work area very well, and you need to work quickly here. We want to keep that butter cold, okay? So you want to form a rectangle, and you want to stretch out your dough to about 1/4 of an inch thickness. From this camera angle, you can really see those big pieces of butter in your dough. That's so lovely. If they were smaller than this, they would just melt right away, guys. So once you stretch out your dough, do not worry if it's not a perfect rectangle. We'll get there. Fold one end over the middle, brush off the excess flour, and fold your other end over that one. You'll need to do this for a total of 3 times. So turn your dough around. That way it's a rectangle. Well, it's always a rectangle, but it's a rectangle facing you, basically. You get it. Flour your work area and repeat everything we just did. You'll see the butter will start to spread out even more. Your dough should feel cold to the touch, guys. If you feel it's getting too warm, put your dough in the fridge for about 20 minutes. That way the butter firms up again. But if you work quickly, you will not have this problem. Just remember, the key to making excellent croissants is cold dough. I know to some people this may seem like a lot of work. It's really not, guys. You're just rolling out your dough and folding it. This takes 10 minutes. It's really not labor intensive, okay? So once you've made all 3 folds, the last fold is very simple. Just roll out your dough again, fold 1/2 over the other half, and that's it. You're going to cover this in plastic wrap, and your dough needs to chill in the fridge for 2-3 hours, or if you want, you can leave it overnight. Okay, so fast forward 3 hours later, we're going to make our croissants. So again, flour your work area. Now, since your dough was sitting in the fridge for so long, it will be hard as a rock. So my suggestion to you is to take your dough out of the fridge 10 minutes before actually rolling it out. That way, it has time to slightly soften up. So you're going to stretch out your dough. The butter will start to tear. It's completely normal. The dough was sitting in the fridge for so many hours. But as you keep rolling it out, it will blend together again. But it should remain cold to the touch, okay? I'm sorry if I keep repeating myself, but it's crucial that the butter stays cold and that it doesn't leak out of your dough. If that happens, it's over. You cannot make croissants anymore, okay? Now, because croissant making is an art, it is, guys, bust out your ruler and measure your dough. You're looking for about 50 centimeters long and about, I'd say, 25 centimeters across. Mine wasn't quite there yet, so I did stretch it out just a little bit more. So using a pizza slicer, I'm not sure what these are called actually. Cut out your triangles. Try to make them the same size. That way they bake evenly. Take one of your strips, cut a small opening. It's not necessary, but it will be easier for you to roll this up into a croissant. Now you will have to seal that edge with just a little bit of water. Otherwise your croissant will unravel when baking. Now crucial, you must listen, okay? You cannot put these to rise in a warm place. Croissant dough does not work like, other yeast doughs. Croissants need a very slow rise. The reason for this is because if you were to put these in a warm place, the butter that we worked so hard to keep cold will start to warm up, leak out, and eventually destroy all those beautiful layers that we created and, your croissants. So if you live in a warm country, consider putting your croissants in an air-conditioned room. You want the temperature of your house to be between 20-28 degrees Celsius. If the temperature is higher than that, the butter will just start to melt. I'm going to cover mine and leave mine out to rise. It is spring here. It's not that hot yet. And these need to rise for about 2-3 hours. Now, they won't double in size. They will become sort of chubby looking. Look how beautiful these are. If you look at them closely, you can't tell on camera, but if you make croissants and you look at them up close, you will already be able to see those beautiful croissant layers. That's so awesome. You're going to brush them with some egg wash. If you want, you can sprinkle some sugar on top. And before baking these, you're going to put these in the freezer for about 10 minutes. That way, when we blast them with heat, they will puff up really nicely. You're going to bake these in a preheated oven at 200 degrees Celsius for the first 8 minutes. Then you're going to turn down your temperature to 180 degrees Celsius and continue baking for another 8-10 minutes. These will take around 15 to 20 minutes in total to bake, depending how big you've made your croissants. These are the most delicious thing ever. If you've never made homemade croissants, now is the time to do so. I promise you, nothing beats the flavor and texture of homemade croissants. The inside of these croissants is just everything. You can see all those beautiful soft layers, and the outside will be this nice golden color and crispy. This is music to my ears, guys. It is. They're so unbelievably good. If there's one thing you're going to make of mine, please make my croissants.
I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, please give it a big thumbs up for me and please subscribe. I publish a new video every Friday. Be sure to click that bell button so you get notified when I do post the video, if you do make these croissants, which I'm hoping you will, guys. If it's a rainy day, if it's cold out, or even if, it's a hot day and you just want to stay indoors. Whatever the case is, make these, okay? I promise you, as I said, they'll be the best croissants you ever have. You can freeze these also, so, make a lot and then freeze these. They freeze beautifully. Anyway, please send me your pictures. I would love to see them. You can send me your pictures on my Instagram, Twitter, Facebook. Be sure to do the hashtag #Emma'sGoodies. That way I can find your pictures, like them, and comment. And yeah, thank you so much for watching, and I will see you next Friday. Bye.